They say that that sometimes the idea of moving into a community gets rid of choice, gets rid of freedoms, and that you're eliminating things when you go through that. How would you agree with that statement, or would you feel like that's okay?
Sorry.
We agree.
I
was like, wow, you both agreed so quickly. This is great. Tell me about that.
For me, I have a lot of freedom where I am. I come and go as I please. I do what I pretty much want and need to do, and I have I go shopping across the street. There's everything is there. Michael's, they won't let me in there anymore.
Is that because you told them that your name was Mischief?
Well, yeah, well, and plus I kind of buy a little more than I should.
Fair enough.
I'm pretty good at putting balls of, she holds her bag and I put balls of wool.
Yeah, she does.
I like this one. And she makes things.
But you do have the freedom of doing what you please. And like I said, you still get your room to go to if you do want that quiet time. But you still got so many things to do. We have crib night, we have started a whist night, and like we keep things going.
So, dietary as well, your choices with food,
yes.
I think, because that's kind of a concern. People don't,
Yeah.
they have to eat what's being served, but.
Well, and I have very severe diet restrictions, and for me, it's a challenge sometimes to go down and see what the menu is. But then I have choices that I can pick something else instead. I can choose something else, just because I can't have a lot of things that are on the menus. So I enjoy that part of it. I can pick and choose. And our chef has been fantastic in working with me and making sure I have something that I can have that suits my diet.
The chef comes out when you're new and says, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Yeah, and what you can't have.
Yeah. I can have everything, so far.
So far. What was, coming out to the idea of the chef coming out on your first day, what was your first day like?
I was in a strange place, didn't know anybody. I knew my daughter, I moved here because my daughter's here, and I knew she was I was close to her, she's across from the Misericordia.
Yeah.
And, but it was you just wanted to stay in your room. But the girls that worked there, come on, Molly, come on, it's dinner time. Come on, I'll walk you down, find your place, and so on. My very first night there, because I arrived in the afternoon, I knew it was supper time, so I walked down and I stood in the doorway. I hadn't a clue where to go, and I just about ready to turn around and run the other way. And this one gentleman stood up and said, Molly, come and sit with me. One, he knew my name, and one, he was very kind to invite me to sit with him. And after that, I was totally comfortable.
What was day 2 like?
Repeat of day 1, except that I didn't wait at the door. I just went and sat with him.
And how much fast forward week 1, week 2, like what did it? How quickly did that for you? Was it just that day, and after a day you were comfortable, and I was like, okay, we're now.
After a day or two, I was comfortable. Okay. Yeah. And we read the menu before we go in if we want to, and then we say, I want this, I want that. They don't just bring us a plate and plunk it down.
Mm-hmm.
We say what we want that's on the menu, and if there's nothing on the menu we want, we say, well, maybe you could make me
An omelet?
an omelet, and the chef will do that.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, I felt like bacon and eggs, and that wasn't anywhere near the menu, but that's what I asked for, and that's what I got. I said 3 pieces of bacon, I got 6.
And did you send any back, or were they all eaten by the end of it?
I ate them all.
Maybe the chef knew it. Marge, what was day 1 like for you?
That's kind of hard to say. Day 1 for me was a year ago, in the middle of COVID, and I was taken up to my room, and I was in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because of anything that Wild Rose had done or anything. It was because of COVID. So being in your room and having the isolation for 14 days was horrifying. You're very scared in a sense because you're isolated and you can't come out of your room. So meals were brought to you. You didn't know much about what was going to happen after those 14 days and when quarantine was over. But when it was, they escorted me down to the dining room and showed me where to go and introduced me with people, and life carried on. But it was tough being in quarantine. That was a difficult situation.
And do you feel that the team did anything to make that a little bit easier for you? Or was there
Well, they
things
kept checking on me. They kept coming in. They sanitized. They did everything. You know, it was nice to see them. And they introduced themselves as they came and went. But it was still, you're still in your room. You're still isolated. So it makes it very hard.
Was there an element of comfort in the safety of that was helpful? Because that's what we may tell ourselves that, right? It's always helpful to understand, but.
And in the back of your head, you still know that it's for your own safety. You know that. And I mean, we didn't have COVID in our building, which was a fantastic plus. And we appreciated the fact of what we had to do to stay safe. So it was nice. I didn't regret it, but it was still tough in those first few days.
Yeah, I know. I can understand that for sure. Erin, I know that that COVID has been such an interesting thing because it's flexes and we try different things and understand different areas and stuff. What's the current thing that we do when a resident moves in from a COVID perspective?
Well, most of the residents are moving in now that they have been vaccinated, and actually, all of our residents have had their vaccination and the booster. So there is no more isolation, which is really nice. But we do welcome them in. Usually, we have something in the room waiting for them. Usually, we have a calendar. The first day, usually we're at the front door because we're anticipating them moving in. Just like Molly, everyone knew Molly's coming. We got in 2 days, Molly's coming in. I let all the residents know when we do have a new move-in, so they know, to keep an eye out, to be welcoming, so they can feel, to invite them for dinner or, knock on their door if they want to come to an activity. So that's basically, we make sure that they get introduced to all the different department heads. So with care and with Scott, our chef, and with me with recreation, so they can have that sort of holistic view of what life is going to be like, so they can know who to talk to if something comes up.
We had, I was at Astor Gardens, we had a resident that was moving in, a gentleman, and the team does a really good job of thinking about and putting together like a little thing about the stories of our residents, right? So this gentleman moves in and he was, I don't think he was actively looking for a new wife or a new partner, but he was very open to the idea. And almost without cue, like I don't even think this was planned, but I was there that day where he walks in and there's a big group welcoming him, and this one resident goes up and just gives him a big hug and a kiss. On the side of the cheek, of course, but like a single female. And he was just on cloud nine, and I was like, I could not have scripted this better, but this is like, and he just was beaming, and it was an interesting, but it is interesting how there are magnetic and other personalities, but also just that there is this aspect of that human connection that people really miss.
Yeah, it's always nice to introduce people. If someone comes to an activity, does everyone know, Rosemary? Rosemary just came to us 2 days ago. So, oh, hi, Rosemary, nice to meet you. What floor are you on? And what time do you have lunch? And do you play crib? And so everyone, wherever they are, they get to make more friends.
And if you're sitting in the dining room and you see someone sitting by themselves that's new, you go and sit with them.
Yep.
And just try to make them feel comfortable.
On that comfort piece, tell me about what were some of the things that made it difficult to move or made it difficult to do things? Like, for instance, one example I guess I'll ask you first is, tell me about family dynamics. Did family dynamics make it harder? How did you navigate the the dynamics of what family was thinking versus what you were thinking.
I have 2 children. A son teaches at U of A, University of Calgary, and a daughter who drives heavy equipment up here. And we raised our kids to make decisions, think them through and make decisions on their own, in their lives. And so when I made a decision I wanted to move, I just told them that I decided this. Yeah, that's a good idea. If you're ready, it's time. And there was no fuss about it.
Marge, did you have a similar experience? Or?
Mine was exactly the same. I didn't have a problem with my children. I told them that I needed to move. Health reasons were more or less telling me I had to do something. And they did agree. I had a huge condo with a fully finished basement, and I didn't need all that space, and it was a lot of work. And they agreed that yes, I should move and find something that was going to be easier. My son thought maybe I should move into another condo, much smaller type of thing. And my daughter was all for moving into a community. So it was a case where we started looking around to see what we wanted. And yes, I sold the condo and moved. So I didn't have a problem with them.
Yeah. Did anything surprise you about the conversation? Was there any hesitations before that just were that much easier afterwards? Like something that you thought was going to be really difficult and yet it wasn't?
Not with them.
Awesome.
Didn't have a problem.
We're both lucky because our kids are supportive
Yeah.
of what we've decided and go along with it. And my daughter lives in Edmonton, so I see her a lot. My son not so often, but I'm in touch with phone when I don't see him.
You talked a little bit about your experiences moving in, some of the things that you've been doing. Tell me more about the things that you've learned and that have surprised you that you've learned that you didn't necessarily think you would. I think you talked a little bit about painting, but yeah, tell me about some of the stuff that you've learned after you've moved in.
I've been learning to paint. I have a lot to learn yet.
It'll come because you keep coming.
It's got to the point where my kids come over and sit around the dining room table, and Saturday afternoon we paint.
When people say, "Oh well, when you get old, you're not going to be like you're not going to learn anymore," people kind of somehow have this impression that when you get old, you can no longer learn and you're no longer fun and there's no longer any sort of trouble or mischief you can get into. Like how do we prove them wrong?
Just by living it.
And I also feel that you can learn something every day if you want to. The biggest thing is wanting to.
When we think a little bit about that learning or even the fun that you have, let's get into this. Like I really want to understand this mayhem and mischief stuff. Like
We'd like to understand too.
But we'd like to understand why is it so affectionate and obviously besides arguing on who is mayhem and who is mischief, you're not disagreeing with the terms. So
No.
we should at least understand why these.
I know
terms-
she's mayhem.
No, I am. You
Yes.
are.
I don't know, I think you gave us those names.
I did.
Yes, you
And
did.
we'd like to know why.
Well, one thing that's something you learned was to drink tequila a couple weeks ago. I
Yes,
served her
yes.
first margarita at Margaritaville. Had a little
Yeah.
party outside.
Well, there you go.
I liked it.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. We've just got a connection. It's hard to explain. We're like sisters.
Yeah.
And meeting each other like that, I mean, it's only been a few months, but we have this connection that we kind of drive each other nuts and we look after each other and we just keep on going. But along the way, we're getting everybody else involved in it too.
Yeah.
I think that's the secret right there. No matter you guys, when
Yeah,
when
we
people
got
see you
everybody
coming,
going.
it's like this positivity bubble because they're always giddy and giggling, and they're like, "Oh no, what are they up to now?"
Well, and the
up
staff
and
gets
it's-
into it, and the residents get into it, and like everybody's involved in it. And we sit there, what?
go taking Michael's by storm.
No.
Or,
And so, what are some examples of this, of the stuff you've gotten into that?
What have we gotten into?
I don't know. I mean,
Just life.
you like to
Just
poke
like
fun
it.
at everybody.
Yes, we do. We poke fun at everybody. It's the kidding, it's the teasing, and like somebody will come into the dining room really late, and everybody in the room will clap. I mean, it's just a case where we're just looking for trouble someplace.
Or accusing someone at the mailbox
That's
for
right.
stealing your love letter.
Yeah, what happened to my love letters? I just wanted one love letter today. Can't somebody? And then I'd sit there and I'd tease Peter. He's one of our staff members, and I'll say, "How come you didn't make me a love letter today? You could have written one. I mean, you can do that just once." And he'll look at me, "Well, I'll do that tomorrow." Well, then tomorrow comes along, and I tease him, "Where's my love letter? You didn't get it."
It's
Well, I
tomorrow.
forgot. And it's just things like that we keep poking at each other with, and I love it because it gives everybody something to laugh about and go.
Yeah, there's no people walking around
no.
looking solemn and sad.
So it's not just a place that's everyone's serious and falling
Oh,
asleep on
no,
a couch
heavens,
and
no.
doing stuff
People
from
are
that
there.
perspective.
We're there to have fun. Mm-hmm. That was my aim. I want to move somewhere where I'll have fun. And my daughter found this place, and I have fun.
Since you've moved in, I think it's turned into more of a cheerful place. I mean, because no matter where you go, it's your attitude that changes, right? It's like there's nothing more sacred than the company that you keep, and if you keep good company, you make people laugh. Everyone gets a little bit more upbeat. So everyone sees you guys. Oh, here it comes! Like, well, good luck now.
Here comes trouble, they
Yeah.
always say. They're right.
It is interesting though, because sometimes people, I found at least, underestimate how much impact their presence will have. And so one thing is about thinking, okay, I'm lonely, I'm at home, or I don't want to leave, or whatever, but rarely do people think about how much of an impact they can have, or the potential of impact they have on, the individuals that they may move in and around with. Because there's no question, right? When you speak to individuals at Wild Rose, be it the staff, be it residents, be it families. I mean, your two reputations precede you. Everywhere that I go, I hear about, and it may not be mayhem and mischief, but it may be, Molly Marge, or maybe it's affectionately called trouble at times. But the effect that both of you have had on individuals is something that I guess. Did you think that you would also have that much of an impact on people around you?
No.
Never thought about having impact. I just wanted to be happy.
Yeah. I guess it's contagious.
Yes, it is.
Well, you recognize when we're having an activity and we recognize someone's missing. Usually it's like, well, where's Ron, or where's Doreen? Where I've got Reader's Theater, and where's, you feel a presence missing when we're not
Yes.
all together. If someone loves this activity and they're not there, everyone questions. How come they're not here? What's wrong? Did you knock on their door? They're probably napping. But it's it's the same for everyone, right? Everyone has a space, and everyone creates that home environment. And if they're not
Well-
there, then there's something missing.
And like the day I knocked on her door and I said, "Come on, Art, Art, Art." And she says, "You sound like you're saying arf, arf, arf."
You did sound like you were barking at my door. I'm going to buy some bird seed because there's so many beautiful birds. And I look out onto a building over there, and I like that building because they have lots of fresh fruit. But in between, there's these trees and the birds in them. And I look at my bedroom window, and I'm looking right into the heart of a big spruce tree. And I can watch the birds. They don't even know I'm there.
So now she wants to feed the magpie that's been bugging me every day all summer long.
I'm trying to attract it down my
No,
way. so
you're
it
just
won't
trying to
bother
keep
you.
them there for the winter.
Do you ever play pranks on each other? I'm a big prankster. I enjoy pranks. So, like, do you ever do any?
Really?
No,
do
we haven't really yet.
We
No,
haven't got to that.
No, we can start that though.
Ay, ay, ay.
I should be careful what I'm starting to insinuate. But yeah, it's like I know it's but we at least know there's a magpie involved. There's nothing else. All right. Molly, apparently you have quite the skill at self-discipline. Maybe self-discipline or disciplining others. There's some
Others to
secrets.
discipline themselves.
Yes, please tell me about how.
Well, grade 2, for example, and I've taught lots of different grades, and it works with everybody, but you just have to change the method a little bit so it's not too childish for older ones. Grade 2, I was teaching in Winnipeg, and I had about 35 kids in the room, and I said, all right, we've got to decide what we're doing here. We've got to get you all ready for grade 3. I said, but we need to have a boss. Who wants me to be the boss? Put your hand up if you do. No hands. 1 or 2 little ones thought maybe we should put our hand up. And then I said, okay, if I'm not going to be the boss, then you're going to have to be your own boss. And in the process of showing them how to do that, I taught them self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And I could walk out of my classroom and, well, I had to go to the dentist one day, and the principal said, well, just take off. I'll walk by your room once in a while, because they know what to do. And, you know, you could walk out of the room and just leave them, and they were fine. And they learned to look after themselves. Then I transferred that to my higher grades, but I did it a little, not in a childish manner. So, and, you know, I had no discipline problems in teaching. I taught 18 years out on a blood reserve, and they were great years. Sad things are happening now, though. One of my boys died yesterday. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was downtown in Lethbridge one night with my husband, meeting my sister at the bus. And I'd retired already for some time. And all of a sudden I heard, Mrs. Dallard, Mrs. Dallard. It was one of my former students. And so we had a nice chat and so on. She says, can I take a selfie? I said, sure, go ahead. Oh boy, I didn't know what I was in for. She put it on Facebook, and I soon had 80 students on Facebook as friends. And so I see their happiness, I see their sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell me lots. I have one girl who lost 3 sons in 3 months.
Wow.
And she's very wise. I want her to write a book because she knows how to deal with grief. She's doing her best with it. So, but she writes me things about grief. So, but I like having all those kids that I'm in touch with. Then, of course, I have to deal with it when they die, too. 'Cause Russell, one of my boys, died yesterday of a heart attack. And I guess he must be in his 40s now. He's just a young fellow, full of life. So, but those were really good years teaching. Right away I taught them self-discipline, and it works. So then we could just get on with things. So, and I liked my kids. My kids liked me. So.
How do you deal with grief right now? And how have you found that you're being able to handle it?
Well, I send notes to whoever is grieving on Facebook, and then I have to deal with it myself, and I'm kind of used to dealing with grief by this point. And I'm a Christian, and that makes a difference.
I think faith is an important part for many people, of course.
It's the most important part of my life. But doesn't mean you have to be sad and gloomy all the time either.
Agreed.
You know, we have a sort of family motto: just deal with it. This is a situation, deal with it, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Marge, did you have anything to add there?
It was a wonderful story there. It's hard. Dealing with grief is not easy at the best of times, but you're right, you just kind of move on and you deal with it at the time, and you may never forget it, but you do keep on going.
And do you have advice for someone sitting at home who's just lost a partner, is grieving, and maybe doesn't know what to do next, or hasn't even thought about it, but is
that's hard. Everybody grieves differently, and everybody accepts things differently. For me, losing my husband was tough, and he's been gone for 10 years, so it's been a while, but you still never forget. You just keep on going.
You never forget, but you really don't
No.
want to forget either,
No.
do you?
Yeah.
You don't want to give up your grief because that loses a connection.
He always figured I was a strong person and that I could do anything.
My husband thought too.
So I think of him. I'm sure he's watching over me.
Quite jealous, I'm sure, too, of all the fun you're having. Sounds like, as you're
Oh
going
no,
through.
he'd be right in it.
If he were here, I'd be
Oh
chasing
no,
him.
he'd be right in it.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of relationships and engagement, is that there are people we have in our lives, or have had, that we celebrate and we never want to forget. But that doesn't mean we can't have new friendships or new relationships or new times to not cover up those, but just complement them and add
Yes. You can live with grief and still enjoy life
Oh yes.
and have fun. Wild Rose is a happy place, basically, and there's things to do. It's a cheerful place, and it's comfortable, and you can really feel at home there.
Well, and we have an amazing staff.
Oh, have we ever?
That means everything.
Yeah.
Like, they're always well, they can get into trouble just like me, and they can get into my trouble just like me.
Yeah.
And like, it's wonderful to have the staff that we've got.
Yeah.
It has been everything for us.
They're kindness personified.
Oh yes.
No, that's wonderful to hear, and it's wonderful to hear because it's a big thing about how we think about both the recruitment of our staff, but also the environment, right? And there's always things that we can do better, and I think at Optum we like to call these kind of gifts of failure. That there's always things we can learn from, but that we never take ourselves too seriously enough to say let's engage with that, let's take those chances, let's think about it, but let's create those environments that empower our staff and our leads to ultimately take care of our residents and give them that freedom, that choice, that quality of life worth living, because it truly is your home, and we're just fortunate enough to work within your home, and it's important that we create that environment.
Yeah. My floor needs sweeping.
I'll talk to housekeeping. I'll sweep your floor for you.
Anything else that any of you would like to say in closing before we finish?
No, I can't think of anything. Go for it.
No, it's been really enjoyable to have a chat with you.
Yes.
And,
The pleasure's all mine. It's been
you're
really
good
fun.
at asking questions.
I do enjoy asking questions. That is absolutely.
We enjoy answering them.
Yeah,
So
this
we
is
got
a
it
good
made.
match. This is a good match.
So your staff here have been so good to us. We appreciate it.
Erin, anything on your end?
No, I just want to thank you for inviting us and for the opportunity to come with a couple of my favorite residents and share the morning with you. So thank you.
No, it's been my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to. I'm sure
She's
this
buying
is.
lunch on the way back.
She doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt.
We haven't told her.
Well, I had the request: coffee, burger.
So,
We're going to
there we
stop.
go.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
We'll find somewhere to stop.
Are you coming?
Absolutely. In fact,
Everybody
I'll
can
volunteer.
come.
That's good.
I guess it's on me.
You're paying
Is
for
on
it.
me? Okay.
No, I'm happy to. Let's go. Let's go grab some lunch. I'm happy to do that. But awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. It's been awesome, and I have a funny feeling this isn't going to be the last time that we have you on this couch having a conversation. So I'm looking forward to many more.
So we're going to have to get into some mischief, so we'll have
Oh,
things
yeah.
to talk about.
I'm sure we can. We can find it.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. We covered a lot, right? We went through a whole bunch of different things today. We got a chance to talk a little bit about your individual experiences, about some of the newfound freedoms that you found moving into an optimal living community in Wild Rose. We talked a little bit about your nicknames, and how he got them. I'm not sure that every resident gets a nickname, but we'll have to figure out if that is the case or not. We talked a little bit about what you've learned and the new skills and the new things that you're learning, which is wonderful, and the new people that you've interacted with. And what I was most touched by is also the things that each of you have brought to the community, and that's always a really important part that people sometimes forget, is that it's not just about what will be there for you, but it's what you will bring to a community that one shouldn't forget. And ultimately, I think we had an awesome conversation today about ultimately both the freedoms that one can find when they move into a community and decide that they don't want to be lonely anymore, but also the fact that home can be felt at any age, in any way, and in this case, being able to come home and feel that way is one of the things that we always aspire for our residents to feel. So it's been great to see that, and we look forward to welcoming any of you home one day if you'd like to join us or to come and just see and at least watch some of the mischief or mayhem that may be created along the way.